There was a time when ordering pizza didn't require scrolling through dozens of apps. Families already knew where they were going to order from. One phone call, one familiar logo, and dinner was on its way. For millions of Americans, Papa John's wasn't just another pizza chain. It represented something slightly different. Not the cheapest pizza, not the fastest delivery, but the pizza that promised to be better. The company's famous slogan, "Better ingredients, better pizza," wasn't just advertising. For years, millions of customers actually believed it. That promise helped Papa John's grow from a single restaurant into one of the largest pizza chains in America. Thousands of stores, billions of dollars in annual sales, and a brand that seemed impossible to stop. At one point, it looked like Papa John's had everything: a loyal customer base, a recognizable brand, professional sports partnerships, and restaurants spread across almost every major city in America. For years, business was booming. But if you drive through parts of America today, you'll notice something very different. Some Papa John's locations have quietly disappeared. Others have reduced their operating hours. Some shopping centers that once displayed the bright green and red logo now have empty storefronts instead. There wasn't one dramatic announcement. There wasn't one single day when everything changed. Instead, the decline happened so slowly that most people never noticed it. One location closed, then another, until people started asking a simple question: what happened to Papa John's? The answer isn't as simple as bad pizza, because the food wasn't the biggest problem. The real problem was that the entire fast food industry changed, and Papa John's struggled to change with it. For years, the company built its identity around quality: fresh dough, better cheese, higher quality ingredients. Customers were willing to pay a little more because they believed they were getting something better. That strategy worked perfectly until customers started making decisions differently. Years ago, choosing dinner was emotional. Today, it's mathematical. People compare prices, coupons, delivery fees, app discounts, reward points. And whichever restaurant offers the best value often wins. That one change completely reshaped the pizza business. Suddenly, being the best wasn't always enough. You also had to be the cheapest, the fastest, and the easiest to order. While Papa John's continued focusing on premium quality, its competitors were quietly changing the game. Domino's invested billions into technology. Ordering pizza became faster than ever. Customers could track every stage of the delivery directly from their phones. Special offers appeared almost every week. Even local pizza restaurants became stronger competitors. Food delivery apps suddenly placed hundreds of restaurants on the same screen. Customers no longer compared only 3 pizza chains. Now they compared dozens of restaurants with just a few taps. That created a problem Papa John's had never faced before. Its biggest competitors weren't only pizza companies anymore. They were burger restaurants, chicken restaurants, sandwich shops, Mexican food, Asian food, and every local restaurant available through delivery apps. Pizza was no longer competing against pizza. It was competing against everything. At the same time, inflation pushed restaurant costs higher than ever. Cheese became more expensive. Flour prices increased. Chicken prices climbed. Labor costs continued rising across the country. Utilities followed the same direction. Every pizza sold generated a smaller profit than before. Customers felt the same pressure. Families started looking for cheaper meals. Instead of asking, which pizza tastes better, they started asking, which dinner gives us the most for our money? That single question changed millions of buying decisions across America. And Papa John's slowly found itself trapped in the middle. Not cheap enough to dominate the value market. Not unique enough to justify the higher price for many customers. The warning signs weren't dramatic. Restaurants became slightly less busy. Orders slowed. Franchise owners started feeling the pressure. Profit margins became smaller every month. And although the company was still serving millions of customers, something important had already begun to disappear. Because businesses rarely collapse the moment sales begin falling. They begin fading away the moment customers stop thinking about them first. The biggest challenge wasn't making better pizza. It was becoming the first choice again. Every evening, millions of Americans open a food delivery app without knowing exactly what they want to eat. Within seconds, Dozens of restaurants appear on the screen, bright discounts, free delivery offers, buy one, get one free deals, loyalty rewards. The competition begins before a customer even looks at the menu. That's where Papa John's slowly started losing its advantage, not because people suddenly disliked the pizza, but because another option usually looked like a better deal. A family ordering dinner might save $10 or $15 by choosing another restaurant. For many households, that difference mattered. One cheaper dinner didn't seem important, but millions of those decisions slowly reshaped an entire company. Behind the scenes, franchise owners were facing an even bigger problem. Every month brought higher expenses. Food suppliers charged more. Employee wages continued rising. Insurance became more expensive. Delivery costs increased. Rent rarely became cheaper. Running a restaurant had never been more expensive. Unfortunately, customer traffic wasn't growing fast enough to cover those rising costs. Some locations remained profitable. Others struggled just to break even. Eventually, the weakest restaurants became impossible to justify. One store closed, then another, then another. Unlike a bankruptcy that dominates the headlines, Papa John's decline happened quietly. They simply drove past an empty storefront where their neighborhood pizza shop used to be. The interesting part is that Papa John's didn't disappear because of one terrible mistake. There wasn't one disastrous product launch. There wasn't one food safety crisis that destroyed the company. The business simply found itself trapped between two very different markets. On one side, discount pizza chains offering lower prices. On the other, premium local pizzerias promising handcrafted quality. Papa John's stood somewhere in the middle, and the middle became one of the hardest places to survive. The company responded by investing in technology, improving its mobile app, launching new menu items, expanding loyalty rewards, modernizing restaurants. But changing a business is much easier than changing customer habits. Once people build a new routine, winning them back becomes incredibly difficult. That's why the real story behind Papa John's isn't about pizza at all. It's about consumer behavior. Because businesses don't survive on memories, they survive on daily decisions. Every lunch, every dinner, every Friday night, millions of people decide where to spend their money. Those decisions often take less than a minute. The brands people think about first usually win. The brands they forget slowly become smaller. Today, Papa John's still operates thousands of restaurants around the world. The company isn't gone. Millions of customers still order its pizza every year. But its place inside America's fast food industry no longer feels as secure as it once did. The explosive growth that defined the brand for decades has been replaced by restructuring, store closures, and a constant battle to remain competitive in a market that's changing faster than ever before. Perhaps that's the biggest lesson behind Papa John's. Even one of America's largest pizza companies isn't guaranteed a permanent place at the top. Consumer habits evolve, technology changes, competition grows stronger, and businesses that fail to stay ahead eventually begin losing something far more valuable than revenue. They lose relevance. Because restaurants rarely disappear the day they close their doors. They begin disappearing the day customers stop choosing them without even thinking. For Papa John's, that shift didn't happen overnight. It happened one family, one order, and one forgotten pizza night at a time. The question now isn't whether Papa John's can survive. The real question is whether it can once again become America's first choice, before another generation moves on forever.